So, I never thought I'd be posting here, but I'm in a situation that feels like it's straight out of a movie, and I honestly don't know if I'm about to be the hero or the villain of my own family's story. The title says it all, but the details are complicated. My brother, let's call him Mark, is getting married in 2 weeks. And I, as his older brother and best man, have a choice to make. A choice that could either save a woman I like from a life built on a lie, or completely destroy my brother's life and my relationship with my entire family. To understand, we have to go back about 6 years. Mark was always the golden child, but he was also a bit of a drifter. He couldn't hold down a job. He was always chasing some get-rich-quick scheme. After dropping out of community college, he decided to join the army. My parents were proud. I was proud. It seemed like he was finally going to do something real, something to be respected for. He went to basic training, and we'd get letters and calls. It was tough, but he was doing it. Then, about 4 months in, he came home. He had a brace on his knee and a story. He told us he'd injured himself during an advanced training exercise, a classified one he couldn't talk much about. He said the injury was severe enough that they had to give him an honorable discharge. He was devastated, he said, because he was on track to join the Special Forces. We all felt terrible for him. His dream was cut short. And that's when the lie began. It started small. When people asked what happened, he'd get this sad look in his eye and say, "I served. I just can't talk about it." People would nod, give him that look of respect, and buy him a beer. He was the local hero whose career was tragically cut short. But then the story started to grow. The classified training exercise slowly morphed into a short but intense deployment to Afghanistan. The knee injury wasn't from a training drill anymore. It was from shrapnel from an IED that nearly killed his entire squad. He was the one who pulled his sergeant to safety, he claimed. You see, our town loves a hero. And Mark loved the attention. The lie got him everything he ever wanted. He got a job at a local security firm because the owner was a veteran who was impressed by his service. He gets discounts at stores. He never pays for a drink at our local bar. He even got his fiancée, Jessica, because of it. She's a wonderful person, a trauma nurse, and she was drawn to his story of sacrifice and bravery. She sees him as this stoic, wounded warrior. And I knew it was all a lie. How? Because I was the one who picked him up from the base when he was discharged. I was the one who read his official discharge papers. The papers that clearly stated, discharged under Chapter 11 for a pre-existing medical condition, aggravated during basic physical training. Service, 4 months, 12 days. Non-combatant. His knee injury, he had a bad knee from high school football. He twisted it doing push-ups, and the Army decided he wasn't worth the medical investment. There was no deployment, no IED, no saving his sergeant. Just a mundane, administrative discharge. For years, I've said nothing. I confronted him once, privately, about 2 years ago. He went ballistic. He accused me of being jealous, of always trying to tear him down. He said the lie was harmless, that it gave people hope and it gave him a purpose. He told my parents I was threatening him and they sided with him. "Don't ruin this for him, son," my dad said. "He finally has some self-respect." So I dropped it. But I couldn't forget. Every time he told his story, every time I saw that look of adoration on Jessica's face, my stomach would turn. And that brings us to now, the wedding. 2 weeks away. I received the draft of his wedding vows that he wanted me to look over, and my blood ran cold. He wrote a whole paragraph about how his time in the sandbox taught him the meaning of love and commitment, and how seeing death up close made him realize he wanted to build a life with Jessica. He was going to cement his biggest lie into the foundation of his marriage, in front of God, her family, and everyone. And I can't. I can't stand there as his best man and watch him do that to her. She deserves the truth. But if I tell her, or if I expose him at the wedding, his life is over. His job, his friends, his fiancée, all gone. And my family will never, ever forgive me. So, Reddit. Am I the asshole if I expose him? And if so, how the hell do I do it? The response to my post was overwhelming. A tidal wave of opinions. Some called me a jealous monster who should just stay quiet and let my brother be happy. Others said that a marriage starting with such a massive deception was doomed from the start, and that Jessica had a right to know who she was really marrying. There were a lot of YTA, you're the asshole, and NTA, not the asshole judgments, but no easy answers. But one comment stuck with me. It was from a woman whose father had been a victim of stolen valor. She wrote about the deep-seated disrespect it shows to those who actually served, who actually bled, and who actually carry those scars, both visible and invisible. She said the lie isn't harmless. It's a theft of honor. That sealed it for me. This wasn't just about my brother's fragile ego anymore. It was about principle. I decided to give him one last chance. One final off-ramp before the final catastrophic crash. I called him up and asked to meet for a beer, just the two of us, a week before the wedding. We met at a quiet bar on the edge of town. I started gently. "Mark," I said, "we need to talk about the vows." He smiled, thinking I was going to praise his writing. "Yeah? What do you think?" "Too cheesy, I think," I said, looking him straight in the eye, "that you can't mention Afghanistan. You can't start your marriage to a woman like Jessica with that lie." His face changed instantly. The smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard glare. "We are not doing this again," he hissed. "I told you you're just jealous." "Jealous of what, Mark? Life built on a fantasy? I was there when they sent you home. I have a copy of your discharge papers locked in a safe at my house. Pre-existing condition. Non-combatant. Does any of that ring a bell?" He leaned across the table, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "You listen to me. That story is who I am now. It's who Jessica loves. It's who this town respects. If you even think about blowing this up, I will make sure everyone, Mom, Dad, our entire family, sees you as a bitter, spiteful snake who tried to ruin my happiness for no reason. You will be alone. Do you understand me?" I just stared at him. The brother I grew up with was gone. In his place was a stranger, a cornered animal willing to do anything to protect his false reality. I paid for the beers and walked out without another word. The week leading up to the wedding was torture. I was the best man, so I had to be there for the final suit fittings, the bachelor party, all while smiling and acting like everything was fine. Mark was overly friendly to me, a smug look in his eye, confident that he had won. Then came the rehearsal dinner. It was at a fancy restaurant Jessica's parents had booked. Her father, a kind man who had actually served in the Navy during Desert Storm, stood up to give a toast. He raised his glass. "To Mark," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've never been more proud to welcome a fellow brother-in-arms into my family. It takes a certain kind of man to face what you've faced and come out stronger. Jessica is lucky to have found a true hero." Everyone applauded. I looked over at Mark. He was soaking it in, a single tear rolling down his cheek for dramatic effect as he hugged Jessica's dad. Jessica was beaming, looking at him with pure, unadulterated love. And in that moment, looking at the good, honest man whose respect Mark had stolen and the wonderful woman whose love he was stealing, my decision was made. I wasn't going to let this happen. I wasn't going to be a silent accomplice. The next morning, the day of the wedding, I woke up early. I put on my suit. I looked at myself in the mirror. I felt a strange sense of calm. I went to my safe, took out the folded, official copy of Mark's discharge papers, and tucked it neatly into the inside pocket of my suit jacket. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The truth was coming. The only question left was when and how. It would finally be revealed. The ceremony itself felt like an out-of-body experience. I stood next to Mark at the altar, the weight of the folded paper in my pocket a constant heavy reminder of what was to come. The church was beautiful, filled with flowers and smiling faces who had no idea about the lie that held this whole day together. When it came time for the vows, my heart pounded in my chest. Mark looked deep into Jessica's eyes and began. "Jessica," he started, his voice thick with practiced emotion. "My time in the service taught me that life is fragile. Facing death in the sands of Afghanistan, I promised myself that if I ever made it home, I would build a life of truth and love. You are that truth. You are that love." I flinched. He actually did it. He said the words. I glanced at Jessica's father in the front row. He was wiping a tear from his eye, beaming with pride. I looked at my parents, their faces a mixture of pride and nervous anxiety, probably praying I wouldn't do anything. I played my part. I handed over the rings. I smiled when the pastor said, "You may now kiss the bride." I walked back down the aisle behind the happy couple as everyone cheered. But it all felt hollow. It was just the prelude. The reception was where it was all going to happen. It was time for the best man's speech. The DJ called my name, and a spotlight hit me as I walked to the microphone, a glass of champagne in my hand. The room fell silent. I could feel every eye on me. Mark gave me a little nod, a confident smirk still on his face. He thought he had won. I tapped the microphone. "Hello, everyone." My voice was steadier than I expected. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the groom's older brother. And as the best man, it's my job to give a speech. To tell a few embarrassing stories, to talk about what a great guy my brother is, and to wish the happy couple a lifetime of joy. I paused, letting the words hang in the air. I can't do that. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Mark's smile froze. I can't wish them a lifetime of joy because joy cannot be built on a foundation of lies. And I cannot tell you what a great guy my brother is because a great guy wouldn't do what he has done. The room was dead silent now. I looked directly at Jessica. Jessica, you are a kind, compassionate, and wonderful woman. You deserve a husband who is your equal, a man of honor, integrity, and truth. My brother is not that man. What the hell are you doing? Mark snarled from his seat, starting to stand up. Sit down, Mark, I said, my voice cold and firm. He was so shocked he actually did. Jessica, I continued, your father was a real serviceman. He knows what honor means. So does every man and woman who has ever put on a uniform and faced real danger. The story that Mark told you, the story of his heroism in Afghanistan, is a complete and total lie. Gasps echoed through the hall. Jessica's face went pale. Her father stood up, his face a mask of confusion and anger. My brother did not serve in Afghanistan, I announced, my voice ringing with clarity. He was never in combat. He was never injured by an IED. He was discharged from the Army after 4 months of basic training because of a pre-existing knee condition from high school football. I reached into my pocket. For anyone who doubts my words, I have here a certified copy of his official military discharge papers. I unfolded the document and read from it. Discharge under Chapter 11. Reason, condition existing prior to service. Total service time, 4 months, 12 days. Non-combatant, end of story. Chaos erupted. My mother was sobbing. My father was shouting my name, a look of pure fury on his face. Mark lunged at me, but Jessica's father, a big, imposing man, stepped between us. He looked at Mark with a gaze so full of contempt that Mark just crumpled. Jessica just sat there, staring into space, her beautiful wedding dress, suddenly looking like a costume for a play she never wanted to be in. She looked at Mark, then at me, then at the paper in my hand. I walked over and gently placed it on the table in front of her. Then I turned and walked out of the reception hall, leaving the ruins of my family behind me. VO over slow, somber music. That was 6 months ago. The wedding obviously did not continue. Jessica left him that night. Her family, after verifying the papers were real, supported her completely. She sent me a short email a month later. It just said, "Thank you. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through, but you saved me from a lie." We haven't spoken since, but it was enough. My family, as expected, has completely cut me off. They see me as the ultimate betrayer who destroyed Mark's life out of jealousy. I hear from a cousin that Mark lost his job and moved out of state, trying to escape the shame. Maybe he's starting over. Maybe he's building a new lie. I don't know. And I don't care. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder, was I the asshole? I destroyed a wedding. I broke my mother's heart. I lost my entire family. But I also freed an innocent woman from a life of deception. I stood up for the real heroes whose valor my brother so casually stole. So, no, I don't think I was the asshole. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'd do it again.